This is the Team Objection Podcast for September 21st, 2021, episode 498. I'm pretty confident that we are indeed live and on the internet, but somebody out there should please let us know if we are live and on the internet. Yeah, there it is in the intro. See, I have to play the intro first, so I can't be like, hi, what's up, are we here, and then go, because we're starting the show. We're in the show. The show is now.
Is there like a little bit of a delay, so if like we say something super bad or inappropriate, you can edit it out?
We got about 7 seconds.
Tech guy can edit it out immediately.
Yep, we have about the standard 7-second delay is what it seems.
I think it's impossible because as soon as I click the button, we'll have already said the thing. So I can turn off the stream anytime, but once the thing is said, it's going to be a reaction to it.
I like the idea of like a panic button.
Just to blow the whole setup.
Yeah.
It's like Sean says the most controversial thing he could possibly say. Chris dives for the stop recording button, but it gets out there and then kills immediately. Yeah. Like the live stream kills. Perfect.
Yep. There's a lot of risk involved here. I mean, any of us could end up ending our career at any time, but I see people in the chat. The idea is that going forward, we're going to be doing this live because it's just like what we're going to be doing in the recorded version anyways, but this way that people can interact. We're going to have a lot of segments coming up, especially in episode 500, where there's going to be a lot of potential audience interaction. So really the question was, why not do it live? It's basically the exact same show, except now we can do it in front of an audience.
It's going to be interesting behind the scenes because you're going to watch the show and you're going to think, Dave can't possibly be that boring, right? It's like every time we're not just like editing in post and making him sound like a really boring person. He really is, like he really loves steak that much. Like you're going to find out so much more about us. You're going to see that's just how we really are.
Do you remember last week when you said how boring my hot take was going to be and I ended up winning the whole damn thing?
Are you never going to let me forget about that? Is
never
that going to be
once. I mean, it's been 1 week.
Dave won one time in 500 episodes. I'm never going to hear
that again. The point is, you expected that I was going to do shitty, and I did not, so maybe I can start setting a precedent.
Maybe it'll be the best part of the live show. We can bring back the fans again. We can keep count, put them into camps.
Mm-hmm.
People love being pigeonholed.
I don't know if I like the idea of putting people in camps.
And that'll be how we do it. We'll bring back the old days.
We can have the fans of each other go to war with each other like we like talking about. Yep.
Bringing back the teams, talking about things like putting people in camps again. This really is a throwback episode.
So people who've been close to the show, on the show, or who we see in chat so far, which is fine. I mean, I'm not expecting a giant audience for this, especially week one. We got to build it. But Nick, Doug, Michaela, we see you all. Welcome. The plan for this episode, whether you're live or not, is basically to talk about the various video games that we're all playing. We're playing stuff that's different. There will eventually be some overlap. We're all going to be playing NBA 2K22 later tonight, and I'm excited to try it for the first time. I spent about the last 4 hours building a goddamn roster for it. So that's exciting.
For the first time ever, we're all playing a game that's relevant, that's not the same game. I mean, these are three of, I would say, maybe the biggest games that are out, like, kind of right now. We all play Persona 5 Strikers. We didn't even make it through, all of us. And I mean, let's be real. It was a cool game, but like, it's not the cutting edge right now.
It wasn't Persona 5. How's that?
Yeah, that's our review. Thank you for watching. Persona 5 Strikers. It was no Persona 5. That's all. So we thought, what a good time to. I don't think any of us can actually give the full review because it's like a mix of first impressions and review.
This guy hasn't finished it. Right over there.
No, it's impossible to have. I don't think Sean has beaten Deathloop either, though.
God,
but then again, his got delayed, so maybe if it had been on time, but even then, who knows? So I put myself first. I don't know why. I have stuff to do.
That was your call.
I know. I think I just did it alphabetically. That's kind of the way it works. It's why the left to right's the way it is. But here we are nonetheless. So I will go first, and then I will clear out this work issue. I have been playing the new Tales game, Tales of Arise. It's the first new Tales game in a few years. The last one, of course, came out to pretty good reviews. Berseria, I think, was well-liked, if not perfect. Its predecessor, Zestiria, was generally not well-liked. And then we're going back more than a decade to find a Tales game release since then. So after being almost annualized releases, they've been spaced out a lot more now. They're more like every 3-4 years. And, of course, there's even further delays in localization. So far, my impressions of this game are positive, but there are some glaring issues. Number one, there's no multiplayer. So if you've been playing Tales games for the better part of the last 20 years, you've sort of grown accustomed to there being multiplayer. It had its problems in Zestiria, and it wasn't phenomenal in Berseria either, but it was there. You could play with up to 4 people. You can't do that anymore. You can only play with 1. So that is not especially helpful. The other big issue is the DLC. So Tales has always been one of the predominant cosmetic DLC whores in the industry. It's been superseded since then by EA and 2K and a lot of other franchises that saw, hey, this is lucrative for money. But it still exists in Tales. Its approach to this in Arise is to make it so that the DLC is like shoved in front of you like a plate every time you do something on the side. So it's like, sir, would you like to sample the DLC? And no matter how many times you're like, no, I do not want to pay for costumes, stop asking me. Every time you go to a camp, or you go to the main menu, or you load up the game from the title screen, that plate comes back. The platter's there. You know, hey, what? You sure you don't want some DLC? You could pay $25, get some premium costumes and some unique arts that you can only get. Arts are the like attacks and stuff that you can only get by getting the DLC. You don't have the DLC, you don't get this content.
I've heard it's disgusting.
It's
just like all the time in your face.
Super gross.
Yeah, and just let me point out too. So we go live and we're so excited for fans. All the fans want to do is call out our mistakes. That's it. That's all they care about. Oh, look at the last week header. You know what? Why don't you guys go live? Invite us. We'll tear your thing apart.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, please continue.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of those. I didn't change any of them.
Perfect.
It's exciting.
I wonder, would both of you, I think you're probably in the same camp as me, would you rather pay an extra $30 for the game to not have to worry about DLC, the microtransactions? Because I would.
Like to never even get prompted?
Not even have to have it as part of the experience. Not even have it offered to you. To be like, look, games cost $70 now. I'll make it so games cost $100, and I never once have to buy VC for NBA 2K22, or I never have to get offered, hey, here's this costume, here's this something. Make it so DLC is more like it used to be, where it's like, hey, you want to play more of this game? Here's some DLC. Like, I understand that. That makes sense.
I would be down for that if it was more included. You know, I'm going to be crazy. Here's the controversial thing. I wouldn't hate it if we went back to unlocking stuff in games. Like, you want the really cool outfit, you know, kill 10,000 enemies with a headshot. Like, cool. I would much rather prefer that than, like, I can buy it because buying it's nice, but then I don't like that practice, and I feel gross. They should feel gross. It's bad all around.
And what returns do you actually have? Like, if you dodged the 1,000 lightning bolts to get Lulu's ultimate weapon back in the day, like, yay, you did it. And then you kind of like, this is stupid that I spent this much time doing it, but I did it. Nowadays, it's like, cool, I have to put down my credit card. Who cares? Like, there's no accomplishment in it.
Dave, if you were given the option, would you pay $15 to not have to dodge those lightning bolts?
No, I wouldn't.
$10.
Because there's no return.
$5.
There's no return to that. No.
$1.
You're not auctioning me on this.
Well, the return is you can say you did it.
But you didn't.
Yeah, you're paying for achievements, basically.
Yeah.
So none of that is phenomenal. What's good about the game, because we don't want to just shit all over it when I said it was pretty solid, is like the graphics are the best this series have ever seen. I don't think they're like cutting edge, but I also think it's difficult because they're trying to preserve a sort of anime style in a pseudo-realistic world, so I'm not sure how much they can really dive in. Like, you can't get photorealism when you have these type of characters, otherwise I don't even know what Uncanny Valley we're going into. So it looks great, it plays really well. I mean, you're in and out of battles just like lickety-split thanks to the next-gen upgrades and stuff, so that's all really nice, because it used to be like, you know, Tales has almost never had random encounters, so it was only run into an enemy, but then you'd have like a screen-breaking effect, and then a couple seconds of cheering, and then you'd pan across the battlefield while it was finishing the last bit of loading, and then maybe 10 seconds later you could start to fight. Here it's like, oh, enemy, boom, fight. Which sounds small, but like we've talked about with a lot of other load time things, to me is really, really appreciated.
How many fights do you have in that game, you think, estimated?
A lot. And because the battle system is so fun, you already wanted to do a lot of fights in most Tales games, and in this game, because there is no slowdown for it, it's even more incentive. Like, oh, well, there's an enemy on the way on this path. Like, sometimes I'd be like, I want to get back to town. I don't want to deal with this little 15-second waste. And now you're like, I'm just going to kill that thing right over there. I want him.
Well, that's what we talked about with Next Gen. That was the thing we're really excited about. Is like, yeah, it saves maybe half a second. But when you're fighting like 1,000 different encounters in a game, that adds up. All that little
Absolutely.
stuff adds up.
Yep.
I will say I walked by the screen when Chris was playing. Therefore, I'm an expert. And it does. Chris, I made the point when I walked by. It's like there's an art style that's there, and that visual aesthetic that you can't just like redo to make it hyper realistic. But it does. I was impressed. It looks really good. It's like shiny anime. It's great.
I'm super early in the game, so I can't really speak to the characters. All I've heard is that, as usual for Tales, they're the best part, because Tales stories tend to be hit or miss and like the overall narrative, but the journey of the characters and their growth and their interactions with each other are great so far. I mean, there's a lot of snippiness because they're from different sides of a race conflict, but you can see them growing and learning to like each other already. So I think we're headed for a really good way there. Overall story is intriguing. I don't know that it's going to stick the landing. I think anytime you deal with race relations, it's not phenomenal, but we'll see. I'm not going to rule it out because I'm only like 10 hours in. So overall, my impressions are still a major bummer that a series that I've always enjoyed for multiplayer doesn't have it. I think it would have been possible to do even with this new battle system. But overall, I'm still enjoying it. I played the demo, and that was what made me finally take the plunge, and I decided, okay, like I think I'm in. I've always liked this series. I'm enjoying it so far. I would think a score would be stupid, but it'd be like a 7.5 right now with whatever I'm into it.
You heard it here. Chris is locked in, 7.5, despite only playing. That's the headline.
He can't change it.
Diffiala, because I don't know this person. All I can do is read the name handle.
Right.
Dave, how would you reconcile this, though? Every time the company raises the price of the game, they get dragged through the coals when they do that.
It's a solid point, and why the industry won't do it, even though it's funny. The irony of it is that people generally are going to pay more money in the long run because they're going to, so many people buy the DLC. Unlike others, I don't know, maybe you need to have two different versions where you have like the ultimate version that costs $120 or something that you can buy that doesn't have the DLC in it or already has it preloaded or something along those lines,
Yeah.
Give you the option at least.
I'm super torn about those because I would be nice just to be able to pay some kind of flat fee and just be done with all this, but I also don't mind companies getting a bit of extra revenue from exclusively cosmetic things, which this game is not. Like I said, they have some in-battle and in-game effects as well that, I mean, one of them I think gives you hundreds of thousands of gold, which is the in-game currency, and from what I read on a tweet, some people have not gotten that at like the 3/4 portion of the game, like total. So it's a little, when it's that kind of stuff, purely cosmetic, optional costumes, or it's like small quality of life improvements. Like if you want to pay for 5 free level ups, fine, I guess. I don't get that, but sure. Those I don't really mind, and I've never really minded, but we're really balancing poorly, I think, this line between cosmetic and not.
Here's what's fucking bullshit. I'll tell you right now. Is I think it was Shadow of whatever's the sequel, one of the Mordor games. You beat the game, and then there's like an epilogue that I want to beat because I want to see the whole story. The entire epilogue is designed around you needing to buy DLC. Otherwise, you're talking hundreds of hours of slog to get through it. And that it's completely transparent why and how they designed it like that. And it's just the worst feeling in the world. And it made me resent that game. I sold it back. I broke it in half. I didn't even sell it back. I just broke it.
That used to be the accomplishment too, like I was saying earlier. Like it used to be, if you did slog through that hundreds of hours, that used to be it. It was like, hey, I did it. I got all 900 Kokoro seeds.
Oh,
whatever.
God. Yeah. More than that. Yeah.
Whatever they are. I forgot what the name of it is. Point is, I got all of those. And then I got this piece of shit at the end was the reward.
You got all of the seeds?
I never did. No, I just know that's what it was.
I was about to be so... More impressed than I've ever been with you in my whole life.
Yeah, man, I blew it. No, I did get all the shrines though. But or you could be like, all right, here's $20, and I did it. I got them all. Which again, no accomplishment. It sucks.
Yeah.
I get it. And to answer Doug's other question, I'm playing on Xbox because I'm only going to play games on PC that I have to play on PC, despite having a really good one.
Yeah.
I want that controller in my hands and a setup that I can play away from this station because I spend way too much time here during the day.
So speaking of DLC atrocities, Dave, we are segueing into your review of NBA 2K22.
I have to click the button for that. Hold on. What's the top say? 10 rings to rule them all.
Interesting, Dave. Please elaborate
Excellent.
on the 10 rings.
Let's
and how they...
bring up your point, Dave.
About the 10 rings. Well, you shoot the ball through a ring.
Well,
That's true.
we assume Luka Doncic is going to win 10 titles by how much the media sucks his dick.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, just look. It's disgusting. It's sickening. He's in the corner. He's looking at me. His stupid face is screaming in the background. In a cover, can I just ask you, Dave, do you need a person shooting and then behind him
his twin brother
also screaming?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is like those like really bad 80s Christmas cards. Like, why are...
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I hate it. Anyways,
I just want to respond to Nick Fiala real quick saying that he hates it when you get a new toy after all the game is beaten. I agree, because there's something that shuts off in my brain when the game is beaten. And it's like, oh, yeah. I'm done. Why would I want this new thing to make the game easier?
New game plus.
Yeah, there you go.
If you can carry it, sometimes you can't, and you're like, what was the point of this then? What did I do this for?
Yeah.
The funny thing about NBA 2K22, in many ways, it's just a bigger version of what the city offered in NBA 2K21. The thing that I find funny is that Sean, for years, has been asking for an NBA RPG where you can have a character, you can do quests, you can have an interactive world. They kind of did it this game.
But good. But I've been saying like a good version of that.
I understand that. But like, if you want to have an RPG, a role-playing game in which you take control of a person and you really have kind of a direction to go under the screen of having basketball around it. This game is kind of that in many ways. The My Career section, the premise for it is that you're an influencer on YouTube. You're like a basketball influencer. You've got tons of followers. So you're already kind of famous. You can choose your college. Or you can choose to go to the G League to start out. Then you get drafted in the NBA. And from there, your first choice you have to make is whether you want to have an agent that's going to help you off the court more so, or an agent that's going to help you on the court more so. There are all of your movements, the types of quests you complete, the types of responses you have in media sessions. Everything you do is going to either build your on-court brand or your off-court brand. There are things you can do that do both in a way, but you really are trying to create a person that is a media icon, not just a basketball player. So in that mode, it is extremely interesting in that sense. The problem with it is that it becomes... I got to the point so far, I've played through where I got drafted by a team, and I've played a couple of games. The problem is I've probably put 10 to 15 hours in, and I've played like maybe 1 or 2 NBA games at this point. So it's really interesting how much else there is to do besides playing basketball games.
I see. So wait, so you're an influencer like in high school then?
Yeah.
Jesus.
And then I saw one of the nice small changes was that it looked like depending on which college you went to, you got different boosts to your player as well. Like it unlocked different sets of badges that you wouldn't otherwise be able to put on that particular player. So that's a nice little tweak for the college experiences too.
Yeah. There's differences. I mean, they do make your choices matter in a sense with that. And I haven't seen the different paths that happen depending on what agency you went with. I am, I guess, kind of a basketball purist, so I went personally with the agency that's going to help me on the court the most, because I don't want to get into all the rest of it as much. Maybe I will down the road, I don't know, but I really do kind of just want to play basketball in a lot of this. That's kind of what I want to do, which leads me to what I wish they kind of do now that they're going down this path of this basketball RPG situation type of thing. I almost wish I could have an offline version and an online version, and they're never going to do it. But I want to be able to be like, look, I'm going to take my career and I'm going to play it and I'm going to have fun playing my basketball games with the guy I created and have a little story around it. Yay. But it's never going to happen again because there's so much money to be made because everything costs VC. You want to be a fashion icon influencer? Well, you got to wear different outfits to games. And guess what it costs to get different outfits?
Oof. Devious.
It is. And so there are ways, obviously, you can grind it. You want to grind it, go grind it. You can play online. You can go play the park situation. You can go play all sorts of different gyms around the city and earn VC that way. You can earn it. Good luck. That better be your second job, basically.
I like the idea that you can pursue a path that's completely divorced from basketball, though. Like if you're an influencer, and then as an influencer in the game, you can run a YouTube channel, and then it's like meta. It actually gets posted to your channel, and it's this... But like nothing to do with basketball at all. So that's weird.
I mean, you are still a basketball player, and that's what matters the most.
I guess.
Drive
at that point, who cares?
I mean, they talk. The one agent he meets with that is all more about the outside, the ancillary stuff, does talk about how your game's the important thing because that's how you're going to make your name. First of all,
Yeah.
really make your name. But when it comes to the gameplay, I think they've done a very good job of it. It's hard to just spam things. People used to figure out. Maybe people haven't figured it out so much yet, but you can figure out how to spam the certain moves. You could figure out how to break down defenses. The AI seems to be extremely good in shutting down what you try to do. And even in NBA 2K21 that was on PS5, I pretty much figured out how to master the pick and roll pretty quickly in that game. I could just set my pick. I would either get an alley-oop dunk or a layup pretty much, not every time, but a lot. It don't work that way.
Did I tell you when I scored 120 points? Just my character? Because I just walk up, barely past the half-court line and shoot it before the team would pick me up? Yeah, I know what you mean about spamming stuff. See, on the RPG side, though, just really quick, I think Doug and Nick are on the right track. Like, I want to gamble, like they're saying, like Michael Jordan, be the villain. Choose to have sex with your agent or like kill your agent. They didn't say that. I threw in the last one, but...
And it should be noted that I've heard that if you really do take the selfish me first answers, that it's actually supposed to be pretty funny in this game. Mm-hmm. Which is not how I usually play my characters. So I'm like, I want to be nice to everybody. I want to be liked. But I've heard that in this one, your heel turn actually makes it end up being pretty entertaining.
I haven't gotten to those points yet, so I'm curious to see where that goes.
Have you seen the glitch of the manager guy who's like, here's what I think you should do? And your guy's like, awesome.
Yeah, I got that. And then somebody inserted like a fart sound effect. It's like,
times where I have caught people while going around the city. I have caught certain people whose maybe internet or something cut out and their character glitched. And so a lot of time when you're traveling around the city, the default thing they give you to travel on is a skateboard. So someone was doing an ollie and their internet must have glitched out. So literally they're just floating in air, just doing this up and down in the air on their ollie. I'm like, oh God, he broke.
I like
the internet was broke.
Yeah, the bugs are inevitable. The one thing I'll say as far as balance, I haven't gotten to play the game yet again. We're going to try it out tonight. So I'm interested to see how the gameplay feels because it wasn't bad in 21. It feels like it's getting better. There's a battle every year between the people who are just super mega hardcore about online play in this game and everybody else. Last year, I did play the game early and then later, and the beginning versions felt a lot closer to realistic basketball, and then people got upset because they couldn't do their usual Steph Curry dribble bullshit to get open and shoot like 35-footers in the park where you can just abuse the shit out of everybody, right? So far, the developers are saying they're not going to cave like that this year. If too many people that are real big-time influencers and heavy whales for this game end up complaining, maybe they can't sing that same tune, but they haven't done any tweaking to gameplay balance yet. They've done bug fixes and they've adjusted some mode issues, but they've left the gameplay alone and people seem to really like it. I hope it stays that way because it sounds like it's really good.
Will Cody be able to abuse with his caveman, huge behemoth character?
Because he's not meant to be 7'7". You can tell that just from how some of the animations work.
He jumps and almost has to come like downward to dunk it. It's awful. Definitely tune in, everybody, to that.
I need to see if I don't think I gave him the wingspan he's supposed to have to make that as bad as possible, so I'll need to tweak that.
Okay.
Stay tuned for that. Probably airing this weekend.
So, Dave.
I will say, yeah, I'm hoping it stays the same. I'm with you, Chris, because I've seen that kind of talked about with people on Reddit boards and things like that, hoping that doesn't change. And I really hope they do kind of stick with the basketball rather than the park, because the park thing, I've actually played more online so far than I have in previous versions because it's part of the quests. But I still don't like playing online because I'm not super experienced with it, and I'm not going to put in the money or time to get really good as far as ratings go right away.
Pretty much, yes. At it.
Absolutely, I do. So I'm not going to go sit there and play with some expert who's just going to beat me 21-0 quickly. It's not fun.
You don't want to be like when we play 21 in real life. Like, that's not fun.
Right. Or with somebody who's like a 95 overall, even though the game's been out for approximately 13 days, and you're like a 62, and you're like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
So
I gotta say though, I did put a little money into it. I did put some money into it, expecting it. Essentially, I put some money into VC just because I didn't want to be god awful right away.
So you're a corporate shill already. It took you. You caved the same idea.
Essentially, I figured I was going to pay $100 for this game, and I paid $70. I put $30 worth of VC in, and there we go. I paid $100 for the game.
We have to rewind this episode like 40 seconds to hear you like railing against these companies that do that. You're their target audience.
No, I'm not a whale that's going to put in $500 into this game like some people do.
Like those gacha game addicts.
Mm-hmm. So what's your score out of 10 at this early stage?
For the gameplay itself, I would probably give it about an 8.5. Because I'm having trouble figuring out some of it sometimes. So I appreciate that it's not simple and easy. For the concept of the RPG element of it, I actually really do appreciate it, and I probably give that around a 7.5 or 8 so far. Because I think it's
you're about a 15 or 16.
15 or 16 out of 10. Yes.
Okay.
All
Wow,
right.
it's very good. Must buy.
All right. So now it is Sean's turn.
Oh my God.
What's at the top of this one? Deciding a winner and a loser, of course.
I will decide the winner.
I knew it.
And the winner is Deathloop. So, Dave, Deathloop is an example of a genre that I've been trying to sell you on for a long time. They call it an immersive sim, I think, which is actually a terrible name. It is a genre that does deserve its own name. I don't think immersive sim is what it is, but it's like a first-person shooter stealth adventure game where you just have a ton of freedom. The big characteristic is you have a bunch of different ways to approach any situation. The levels are your sandbox, and you just kind of get to go free to accomplish it however you want to. Deathloop is like the next evolution of this, and what I love is there's a really interesting story that does deal with the time loop and waking up on the same day and starting over every time you wake up, either through dying and you have to start over, or you finish the day. You like do certain time zones. When you go into a time zone, you have as much time as you want in that level, and then once you exit, that like progresses the time, which is a really nice balance. So the story's great, the writing's great. I didn't realize this immediately, but the two main characters are black characters, and I was like, that's so cool. Especially I feel like in gaming where like you don't see a lot of that, and they're both the leads, and their chemistry is great, the voice acting is great. The gameplay is just like so good. It's so Dishonored. I think the gameplay is really excellent, and this just takes it to a new level. And what's great is it feels awesome whether you want to go the stealth route. Sometimes games are like you can go stealth, but like you really shouldn't because the mechanics are terrible. They're super solid here. They're great. Or if you just want to go guns blazing, like me, I don't have the patience anymore, Dave, for stealth. I just go guns blazing all the time. And like, so there's some areas clearly it's not designed for you to really go, like you can, but they're trying to nudge you to do stealth or like use your brain. And I'm like, no, let me kill everything.
I am thick-headed. Shoot, kill.
Yeah, I don't want to think. I just want to shoot. This is Cyberpunk's fault, which I will get into next week. So there's a teaser. But long story short, I don't have patience for that shit anymore. And the thing that I love though is there's a marriage between the gameplay and the fact that it's the story and the fact that it's a video game. So you'll see like writing on stuff that I'm sure you'll get a story explanation for what that is eventually. But like, I feel like it's mechanics you wouldn't see like in a movie, and it's so creative and well done. So there's a fusion of these elements that comes together really nice. And then the addicting part is you can find a substance that allows you to keep all your weapons and powers. If you take that substance and then choose, you have to earn enough of it, and then you have to choose which items or powers to infuse. And if you do it enough, you actually get to start with that power the next time the cycle repeats. So you're like slowly building strength each day. And I imagine I'm going to become a god at some point, but I'm not quite there yet. But it's like a mystery that you're unraveling, so it rewards intelligence. I'm sure if you're actually smart, you would feel really great. I've already established I'm just shooting everything, but the breadcrumbs and the system for investigating and all of that, it's so smart. It's amazing. It's so well done.
How similar is this loop to Majora's Mask? It sounds like
there are some similarities. So you have 4 different levels, and then you have 4 different time zones. So there's kind of like a mix and match, and different things happen. So the way that it is similar to Majora's Mask is you learn these people's habits over the course of the day, and then you can start to work to exploit them. And what's cool is in every level, you would think my goal is to like kill X or sabotage Y. your main goal really is information gathering. If I don't gather some new piece of information, I kind of consider that run to be like a failure a little bit. But if I'm learning, I can get wrecked by the antagonist who will infiltrate your game, and it can actually be taken over by another player. I'm like you, Dave. I'm not gonna. I don't need other players like spanking me online in my single player campaign. Just leave me alone. So it's just the AI, but it's like that's like another level of complexity. So I would say that's kind of how it deals with Majora's Mask in a way.
Well, and also if your goal is to just run and kill someone and everything resets, that won't really work, will it? In order to break the loop, which is what they keep talking about, and I'm still at the part of the game where you're trying to figure out like why your character doesn't have the memories that the antagonist does of why you're even trying to do it. You just know that you want to because this is like who wants to live the same day over and over again. It's hell on earth.
Yeah. All you know is you have to kill all 8 targets in one cycle to break the loop. And what that means or the repercussions, like who knows. But so that's like the end goal. So yeah, you can kill them and you get their power in the short term, which is really huge. So that's like your first goal. Kill them all at least once, get all the information, take their powers, and then you can start to strategize, okay, how am I actually going to do this in one day?
That sounds, I agree with Michaela. That sounds awesome.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like overly complicated or really lame.
I don't like it.
It does actually
I was going to yell at you and I was going to yell at Michaela, but no, that's a much nicer thing.
So now
I set you up well.
Now the air just has to come out of the balloon because it was all ready to go and no outlet. I do kind of like the blending of styles that it sounds like. I mean, you have a sniff of roguelike, you have a sniff of Mega Man if you're killing 8 things and taking their powers. You have, why not take the best things from different successful games from over the years and make something new out of them? I think imitation is the sincerest form of flattery as long as you do it right.
Yeah.
The way people get mad about you copying something is if you fuck it up somehow. If you do it as well or better or blend styles in a way that makes sense, everybody's like, oh, cool, I like that reminds me of that. Because, I mean, I loved Majora's Mask, so why wouldn't I want to revisit something similar?
Yeah, and that's... I always know for me, like, the turning point in a game is, like, when I'm not playing it just to get through the story. And I do that plenty of, like, okay, just got to do this, and then I'm done, and I can put it away and never have to think about it. I'm, like, taking time to, like, hunt for that substance that allows me to infuse, and I'm just enjoying being in the world and not thinking about the end. And that's always when I'm like, oh, that means I'm loving the game.
How much of it is your dialogue driven? Because obviously you need to get information from your dialogue. But how much of the gameplay is like dialogue choices that affect the game?
None at all. So you're listening to dialogue, and like listening to if you're stealthing around and you hear some people talk, which again, probably not getting as much as that because people will start talking and then I blow them away mid-conversation. But that will give you like hints that you find out later. They'll be like, oh my God, such and such house is burning. And then you make like a mental note like, okay, in the afternoon in this level, there's a house that goes on fire. So if I want to go to the house, I better go in the morning or whatever. But everything's scripted as far as like you don't choose dialogue in this one. But in this genre, especially like Deus Ex, which is a game you probably like, you do choose dialogue.
Okay.
But I digress.
It's a slight point off, but it still sounds good.
Submersive. That's my name.
Submersive. Oh, Submersive. Yeah.
Portmanteaus are fun.
Maisie just knows it as the game where if you want to, you can put a fridge in a bed. That was Deus Ex is a thing. You can just like take furniture, you lift it and move it, and I don't know why, but her seeing a fridge in a bed has left a lasting impression for the rest of her life.
You know, you could do that in Fallout 4, right? Like when you're building your camp.
Fallout 4 is surprisingly has a lot in common, I would say. There's definitely some overlap in DNA between Submersive, what Chris said,
Submersive,
and Fallout 4. Fallout 4 is obviously a little more RPG, but all these games, one of the things is there's a progression, not always necessarily experience points and leveling, but like you get better powers, you can upgrade the powers, you can upgrade your weapons, and there's always that element to it. So.
See, what I remember from Deus Ex is punching out the mother of my dead girlfriend. That's what I remember from Deus Ex.
You can do that. You can also kill like anyone. I think it gives you a game over sometimes, but it allows you to still just absolutely destroy their day.
And I didn't do it on purpose. It was just there was a button I was trying to push. I think I held it too long, and it turned into the button that just fucking decks her and knocks her out. So that brought some heat on me, and I had to reload. But I love that kind of stuff. I love those kind of moments in like a Skyrim or some games that are similar. I love making something that has a playthrough be my own. You know, Mass Effect has moments like that too. Did you deck the reporter? Well, that's something you probably remember because that was kind of neat. Finally, you know?
Exactly. And like Dave, you're a smart guy, and you didn't hear that from me, but. There's a part where you can lure a guy, one of your targets, out to the dance floor if you play the right music, and then you can tag. There's one where if everybody gets tagged, whatever happens to one person happens to all of them. So I can then tag like all of them and kill the security guard next to me, and everybody on the dance floor just drops dead, and it's very fascinating and rewarding.
Well, that breaks any sort of realism in that aspect.
Well, it's mad. I mean, there's magical powers that maybe I should have. And the magical powers have a lot to do with Dishonored. I have a theory maybe that it takes place in the same universe, which no one here will. I mean, you've heard of Dishonored, Chris. You probably
played
even
Dishonored.
Seen it. Oh,
just the first one.
I didn't know that. You should play the second one. It's really good. That's all. Nick had a question about did you take Deadpool, change dead to death, and the answer is no.
You did not do that?
No, thank you for asking.
All right, good.
The answer is no.
You didn't make the game.
So a lot of people are. So the reviews came out, and they were like, "This is a masterpiece." And then I think like the internet culture was like, too many people are liking this at once. So there was like a little bit of pushback, like it's really flawed. I can see some of the arguments for the flaws, like the AI is not. It's not bad, but it's not super great. I've had a couple instances where like they've been like walking right in front of me. I like just turned and they're walking towards me. I didn't even notice them, and I was like, "Oh shit!" So then I kill them with the machete. So the AI could improve. There's other little elements that could get a little bit better, but it really is like when I think of gaming and all the things that I like in a game: good story, good graphics, great gameplay, great like progression and leveling. Like this is all of it. I love it. I love Arcane. They're one of my favorite developers too. Arcane, if you're listening and you're like, wow, this guy's really plugging us, and I'm an influencer to Arcane. And actually, what's nice is they don't need help on sales for once. Dishonored was one of the best games ever, and it sold like 5 copies. So this game, by all accounts, is selling super well, and I'm so happy. They deserve it.
Well, I can't wait to borrow from you.
Yeah. Returnal, Deathloop. I'm so excited to
apparently.
Open
I have
your
so
eyes.
many games I have to play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you better leave your family.
Yeah, turn off 2K22.
Leave my family for video games. Sounds great.
Yeah. I was going to say divorce your family or kill your family, and I thought you would have liked that I went with a much nicer approach.
But the same result.
Well, I think your family would disagree. You leaving us, very different than you killing us. Thank you very much.
I think what we've discovered over time, I mean, we have 498 episodes. I don't know what happened at the bottom. I know I changed that, but it doesn't matter. We have 498 episodes that tell us that Sean is basically just what happened when Sid from Toy Story grew up, because he wants everything to be dead or burned or maimed. His parents are not existent, and he wishes they were dead. If they were, his own story would be more tragic. So instead, every character he interacts with, their parents are dead. You're just Sid.
Let me tell you, Dave, in Cyberpunk right now, I'm so over-leveled that I'll walk into a room and there's like shooting at me, and it's like the bullets are just bouncing off, and I have a sword, and I just walk to like my targets, and in my head they just see death approaching, and it's so visceral and rewarding for me to do that.
The first time. The 100th time, not
I've earned it now. I've earned it. You know, I was getting my ass kicked in the beginning of the game. This has been a long road, and now I am the Reaper, and it's wonderful. So
I feel like that does have to make returns.
So score, I would say, I don't want to give out a masterpiece for a game I haven't finished. Who knows? Maybe it falls off the rails halfway through. I would say a solid 9.25, 9.25 right now is what I'm going to go with. Deathloop. It's great. Put it on your list, Dave.
9.25. You even broke our scoring system. You love it so much.
Yeah, it's so good. I'm like, I'm not going to be bound by, you're not going to put me in a box.
I
can put my audience in a box. The audience cannot put me in a box. It doesn't work that way. It only goes
I'll
one
play
direction.
It if that makes you feel better, I will play it eventually.
Yes, it does make me feel better. It's very pleasing to me when you play a game that I've recommended.
So, when you wished your tragic backstory, you didn't have parents. Does you also wish you didn't have a sister?
Careful.
No. I wish I had a sister because she needs to get like kidnapped or like it's incomplete if I don't have a sister.
Wishes he had a sister.
Yeah, she needs to go through trauma, and then that like spurs on my hero's journey.
Of course. You want her to suffer and get captured and kidnapped.
Yeah. Or like I'm watching a Demon Slayer show, and the sister gets turned into a demon. Like that, that works. That would be fine. And then it's a fun. I can carry around on my back in a wooden box. You won't know that. Anyone seen Demon Slayer will know. That's actually really popular. You should watch it. Probably not. There's
he's got so many other things that are more important than that.
There's so many things you should watch before Demon Slayer.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
At least he gave you a commit to Deathloop. He has never actually said he's going to play Returnal, no matter how many times you've told him to.
That's true.
That is
true.
Doug is saying, don't let Sean take my dolls. That has happened. And you will not be surprised. Every time I play dolls with my sister, they were like, we're on a fun road trip. And then like their car goes off a cliff. Or like something terrible happens. And you get into the characters' heads as the van is falling. They're like, oh my God. And the kids are like, we never got to do like the Disneyland. And the dad is like, I don't give a shit. We're about to die. And it's intense, man.
I wonder if my kids will ever have that type of, I need to make this tragic story. And then if I'm going to need to like get them therapy or something.
No, you should do it too. I mean, what? Like, are you a dad when you play with your kids? Everything's like happy all the time? Where's the conflict?
No. They're 5. My son's 5, and he doesn't have, I don't know, he has the mental capacity quite yet to deal with, heavy conflict. Oh no, if you don't finish this task, you don't do this handstand, your daddy's gonna die.
Yeah, no, I mean, but like, but conflict and like the storytelling is written into our DNA. I mean, it's only satisfying to be human to want conflict. Play with it, but have something terrible happen. Have like the kids come home one day and make it like Jojo Rabbit, like daddy's hanging. He was killed by terrorists or something. See, I'm going into weird territory because I was going to say Nazis have hung him because that's what happens in Jojo Rabbit, but it doesn't work in present time. So, yeah, really pushing boundaries here in episode.
Please go get a vasectomy, Sean, so you can never have children, please.
That's correct.
What's worse, though, me adopting or me having my own kids?
Either.
Both are equally bad.
Yeah, so I get a vasectomy and then I adopt. Actually, I bet you the vasectomy would help me adopt, too. I just want to have kids so bad, but I'm broken.
Because, like, in the one case, you're infusing somebody else with your own flawed DNA, but in the other case, some poor person's on a list, and you represent the only hope they have of getting out of foster care, which can still be good sometimes, so foster care is fine.
Yeah.
And then instead, they get you. How devastating would that be?
Pretty devastating.
Terribly.
Pretty devastating, Chris.
You can't even raise your dogs properly. One of them won't shut the hell up the whole episode.
Yeah, I know. That's live. Mm-hmm. Welcome to live Team Objection. I almost said at the buzzer.
And longtime listeners know how much Sean gave me shit for my dog used to bark, so...
Yeah, but again,
now,
like your dog
the tables
has like 15
have turned,
dogs.
sir.
I've told you this already. Your dogs barked so much, I was cracking the code of dog language. Corvo's like a yip every once in a while.
So over-exaggerating this in so many ways. My dog now doesn't bark, so
that's true.
Yeah,
your dog is beautiful.
I don't think that's come up once.
No, hasn't yet.
I don't even think we know you have a dog.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a dog. He's a golden retriever, and he's beautiful.
He's handsome.
It's hard to argue with that.
He's very handsome.
So next Tuesday, we have an episode coming up. Apparently, at the very least, Cyberpunk's going to be talked about. After that, episode 500 will then be on. See, I had the date for this, but it changed because it's not on a Thursday anymore. October 5th will be episode 500, so that's pretty cool. And then after that, we have to do a Suns preview because when we're doing episode 100, the Suns will be playing their first preseason game, or at least like right around that day. So it's coming. It's all coming very quickly. The Suns are back because it was a weird, somewhat shorter offseason, and we played so long that we're going to have to talk about them again, although I don't honestly know how much we're going to have to say. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, but like the roster's almost identical, so I'm not saying we can't get 45
trade for
minutes.
Thad Young.
Yeah, I don't. We got to do a 45-minute dissertation on Landry Shamet. I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll figure it out. So tune in next Tuesday. Thanks for the folks who are here live. There's still the usual avenues. If you can't join us at the 7:30 time slot, and for people who watch us from other states, keep in mind that that's also going to change in November because it's going to be the same 7:30 for us, but a different 7:30 for you.
Oof.
Yeah.
It's like Michelle's here all over again.
Yeah, kind of, but in reverse.
We're going to have to standardize this for everybody. So it's 10:30 Eastern now, but it's going to be 9:30 Eastern starting in November. So just remember that.
There you go.
Sure.
Write it down on your notebook.
30 days, half November, 7:30, and June. So,
7:30 now.
no, don't talk like that. So thank you for watching. Remember, October 5th, that's the big one. Episode 500 is going to be a supersized episode. There's going to be a lot to do in the live version and the recorded one. There's going to be things you can play along with either way, but it'd be more fun if you join us live. So plan on that one. Put that one on your calendar, 7:30, October 5th. In between episodes, you can find us at our website, objectionnetwork.com, or if you're not already watching us there, on youtube.com/objectionnetwork for new videos most of the time, 7 days a week. We'll see you next time.